you got faith, folks? Because ESPN's Dan Orlovsky does. He has been praising the Miami Dolphins all week on social media, on ESPN, all of their shows, kind of speculating that he thinks Miami has a chance to make a push for the NFL playoffs. And it honestly surprised me that he thinks this is very possible. We'll start with what he tweeted on Monday morning after the game against the Saints. I mean, you see the date and time, 6:17 in the morning on December 1st. It's right after he watched the film from that game against New Orleans, saying that Dolphins are a dangerous football team right now, and they have totally transformed their offensive identity. And he's not wrong about that second part, about transforming the offensive identity. We have been talking about this now for a couple weeks, how Miami has gone from a finesse kind of RPO style passing the football team to, hey, we're going to just line up and we're going to run it right down your throats and be physical. And you have to give credit for the Dolphins making that switch with Daniel Brunskill, which we'll talk more about here in a second, Tua Tagovailoa checking into a lot of these run plays, and Mike McDaniel in this offensive line playing extremely well. I mean, you look at the shift here, and it really started week 8 against the Atlanta Falcons. That's when the Dolphins offense really started to shift to this run-heavy offensive scheme. Actually coincides with Darren Waller getting hurt as well because it forced Miami to utilize some of these 6 offensive line sets. But weeks 1 through 7, Miami averaged 18 run per game. And this is designed runs per game. So I am not accounting for Tua Tagovailoa scrambles or anything like that. If they are running the football by design, it was 18 times per game in the first 7 weeks of the year. In the last 5 games, week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11, and week 13. Obviously, Miami had a bye week in week 12. They have averaged 28.8 runs per game. That is an unbelievable shift. 10 more designed runs a game for Miami. Now, some of that could be because they got up big against Atlanta early and ran the ball a ton in the second half. Same thing could be said about the Buffalo Bills. But Miami has been running the ball extremely effectively because they've put a more emphasis on it. And the run game design by Mike McDaniel has been really impressive. But I mentioned it just a second ago. It's not just they woke up one day and said, we're going to run the football, and they just did it better. No, it's because the design and the personnel that they used, which was that Daniel Brunskill 6 offensive line package. They used him as a fullback at times, as an inline tight end. They got him in motion to get him out on the perimeter easier when they were doing halfback tosses, end arounds, and zone runs to the outside. But it also allowed them to be more effective running the football over the middle of the field. The change there was created by Mike McDaniel. Some of the Dolphins offensive staff have given credit to McDaniel for coming up with the idea and actually putting it in the game plan and calling the plays. And boy, has it changed everything for Miami. And we'll showcase more offensive statistics here in a second. But we talked about a Week 14 like battle with the Jets report. We play the Jets this week, earlier in the week. Well, we are dominating them right now by 747 likes. That was quick math. Unbelievable math by me, by the way. I want to continue to put them in the dirt. Hit that thumbs up icon to take down the Jets this week. But I wanted to utilize some offensive advanced metrics to showcase the offensive change. Because we talked about it, but how about the runs numbers actually backing it up? Weeks 1 through 7. Bottom 10 offense in the entire NFL. Sure, they were still about league average in EPA per rush, but EPA per play, 27th, EPA per dropback, 27th, and then 29th in rush success rate. But in the last 5 games, weeks 8 through 13, they're a top half offense in EPA per play. They're a top 10 offense in EPA per rush and rush success rate. And they've actually improved a little bit as well in EPA per dropback, moving all the way up from 27th to 18th. It has been a dynamic difference in weeks 1 through 7 to weeks 8 through 13. And it's obviously because of the play calling and the offensive line personnel being utilized better, but it's also because you have an absolute superstar at running back in Devon Achane. It has been incredibly awesome to watch him in a week-in, week-out basis, to see him become a top 5 running back in football. I've talked about this over the last month. Achane Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey. Those are the top 5 running backs in football, and there's really no debate. Now, you can rank them however you want to. I would put up Achane probably in the top 3, and that's how good he's been. And once again, I'll kick it to Dan Orlovsky, who said, do not sleep on Miami. Devon Achane owns the highest explosive run rate in the NFL, 17.2%, over the last 3 games. He has been having 6.6 yards per carry, 428 yards, 21 first downs, and 14 explosive runs. Devon Achane has been unbelievable all year long. Honestly, throughout his entire career. But in this 3-game win streak, he has totally transformed this Dolphins offense. So I want to look at the advanced analytics and numbers over the last 3 games. Week 10 against the Bills, Week 11 against the Commanders, Week 13 against the Saints, when the Dolphins have won these 3 games. They are 11th in EPA per play, 2nd in EPA per rush, 2nd in rush success rate at 48.9%. They're 16th in EPA per dropback, and they have the 9th best success rate out of all plays at 46%. So clearly, when Miami is investing in making a hardcore, concrete decision to run the football with Devon Achane and let that set up the passing game, Miami's done an incredible job. Give credit to Mike McDaniel for designing the plays, give credit to the offensive line for executing the plays, and give credit to Devon Achane for being a dominating force in the entire year, but over the last month. We break down news, rumors, advanced analytics, react to what people talk about in the Miami Dolphins in the media. Hit that sub button to be covered on all things Dolphins every single day. So there were 2 parts of what Orlovsky was saying that I wanted to react to. Obviously, the offensive identity shifting and Devon Achane being a superstar, which we just talked about, but also how he said, do not sleep on Miami. He has been hinting at, on social media and on the shows. I watched him do a segment on it on Thursday morning, by the way, about he said the Dolphins can make the playoffs. That was his hot take of the day. I say pump the brakes. But let's see what maybe Dan was talking about. I mean, you look at the AFC right now, it's going to be hard-pressed for me to be talked into them making the playoffs. They've still got 3 teams ahead of them, and that's before you even get to the teams actually in the wild card right now, which is the Chargers, Colts, and Bills, all at 8-4. You've got the Texans at 7-5. You got the Steelers and Chiefs at 6-6. Now, there could be some cannibalism between the Ravens and Steelers, because they play each other 2 more times. The Dolphins still play the Steelers, so if they're able to beat them, that would be a massive advantage. You look at the Dolphins' remaining schedule. Obviously, the conversation starts at winning the final 5 games. There is no way Miami makes the playoffs if they finish anything less than 10-7. So they got to win all 5 of these games. They play the Jets in New York this Sunday. Then you go to Pittsburgh for a Monday Night Football game. Then you host the Bengals and Buccaneers before finishing against the Patriots. And although I was very skeptical, and on our live show Thursday, someone asked me, what do I think the chances Miami wins out are? I said like a 17% chance. I think it's growing on me as time goes on. You go game by game. Miami's better than the New York Jets. They just simply are. They should win this game on Sunday. Against the Steelers are collapsing. They look horrible. So that could be a win for the Dolphins. You come back home to play the Bengals, who, Joe Burrow's back, but that defense is horrendous. You should be able to run the ball up and down the field on them. And then you play the Bucs in Week 17, a team that has really been struggling here. They started off the year 6-2. They're 7-5. So they're 1 in their last 3. That's not good math. No, that is true. They're 1 in their last 3. They have not been playing good football. They've got a lot of injuries, although they are getting some key players back, like Mike Evans potentially. And then in Week 18, there's a chance the Patriots have the number 1 overall seed locked up if Denver loses a couple of games here down the stretch and New England wins their next 3 games. So if that's the case, maybe New England rests their guys and Miami can win. Do I think it's likely? No. But it is more likely the more I look at each respective game. But even with that all being said, the Dolphins' playoff chances, according to New York Times, if they win out and finish 10-7, is still just 14%. So even if Miami ends up rattling off 8 straight wins to go from 2-7 to 10-7, it's probably not going to happen, man. It just isn't But let me know your thoughts. Do the Dolphins have a shot at the playoffs? New York Times is saying it's less than a 1% right now, but 14% if the Dolphins make the playoffs. Type Y for yes or N for no. But I wanted to, as I always do on a week-to-week basis, inform you on what the rooting guide for Miami should be this weekend. The number one result you need is for the Bengals to beat the Bills. Number one result. When you look at the simulator, if the Dolphins finish 10-7, the biggest jump this week is if Cincinnati takes down Buffalo. Because if Buffalo falters down the stretch and ends up finishing the year 2-3 and they go 10-7, remember, you have a potential tiebreaker over them. You split the season series this year. You also need the Eagles to beat the Chargers, the Jaguars to beat the Colts, and the analytics says the Texans to beat the Chiefs. They play on Sunday night. Game's kind of a wash in my opinion because it's two teams already ahead of you in the standings. But if you do all those four things and that happens and you win out, the number goes from 14% to about 30%. So it's a 16% increase if all four of these things happen and Miami obviously wins out. Now, the realistic outcome and pathway for Miami to make the playoffs this year is a Chargers and Indianapolis Colts historic collapse. I'm talking historic because the Chargers are 8-4. The Colts were 8-2. But these teams are the most likely, in my opinion, to collapse down the stretch due to their schedule and the injuries to their quarterbacks. I mean, this is certainly getting a little interesting. Justin Herbert suffered a fractured hand this past Sunday, and he's questionable to play on Monday night against the Eagles. But if he is severely, like, I don't want, would you say? Hampered. It's a good word. Probably shouldn't have used the other one. Then that could hurt their play down the stretch. Daniel Jones has a fractured tibia or fibula, whatever the bone is, and he can't move, and the Colts have lost back-to-back games now. And, like, you look at the two schedules for these teams, dude, they're gauntlets. The Chargers have to play the Eagles on primetime, go to Kansas City, in Dallas, then home against Houston, and in Denver. That's brutal. Like, there's a realistic outcome where Los Angeles goes 2-3 or worse in this 5-game stretch to finish 10-7 or worse. But then again, the Chargers own the tiebreaker over you. No bueno. So you really need them to go 1-4 and finish the year 9-8. Indianapolis, another gauntlet. Jags twice, who lead that division right now at 8-4. The Seahawks and Niners, two dominant forces in the NFC West. And then you finish against the Texans in Week 18. Like, could both of those teams go 2-3 or 1-4 in the final 5 weeks because of the injuries to the quarterback play and overall deficiencies in their roster? I mean, the Colts don't have Sauce Gardner for a couple weeks as well. Like, these teams' schedules are brutal. So maybe there is a higher chance than what the people are saying, man. Maybe that's the case, but I mean, it's all going to have to play out. And we're going to round out the show here in just 1 second. But take advantage during the holiday season. Dolphins PJ set, long sleeve shirt, nice little comfy pants as well. $30 or $5, 50% off. Down from $69 to $35 at chatsports.com/DolphinsPJ set. Smalls are already out of stock, but they should have mediums, larges, extra large 2Xs. They're running out, though. Links in the description and comments of today's show. chatsports.com/DolphinsPJ set. I'm going to close the show here. Let's go away from what Orlovsky said about the playoffs and just quickly talk about how even if Miami doesn't make the playoffs, I think the Dolphins have found the path for success offensively in 2026 if Mike McDaniel and Tua are back. Obviously, things will change if they fire Mike McDaniel and either cut Tua, which is incredibly unlikely, or find a trade partner for Tua. But if you have both of those guys back and want Miami to be a better football team next season, you need to continue to do what you've done over the last 5 games. It's the only path to offensive success. Like, really, we've seen Miami have such a strong offensive shift. And it's been sustainable offensive success over the last 5 games. Not only for the Dolphins offense as a whole, but Tua Tagovailoa. And assuming they're both back, which seems like it's heading that way right now, if you want to have the success next year, you got to continue to do this. Like, look at the difference in Tua. And it's been incredible to watch. On the left, you see his numbers from the last 5 games. And on the right, you see his numbers in the last 4 weeks, right? The difference is so stark. Ever since Miami started utilizing the run game more and really going run heavy, it has helped Tua's play. He's been phenomenal over the last 5 weeks. Phenomenal might be a strong word to put it, but it's certainly been better after being a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL through the first 7 weeks of the year. It's been significantly better from weeks 8 to 13. So, final word on today's show. Everyone, me, you, Dan Orlovsky, can see that the Dolphins offense has gotten better and what is working. You cannot go away from this style of play offensively in 2026. If they're gone, they're gone. I don't think they will be. And if they are here, like I expect, they need to commit to the run. They need to feature Achane as that lead guy. Achane should be going number 1 in fantasy football drafts next season. That's really what should be happening, because McDaniel and this offense should certainly hammer him like they've been doing over the last 5 weeks. All right, I'll do it for today's show. Remember, let's take down the Jets in our like battle. Win on the YouTube streets. We win on the field. That's what I've been told. So hit that thumbs up icon, and I'll see you with another video coming soon.